So good afternoon, everyone. Welcome to FACT's Webinar Wednesday, brought to you by the Institute for County Government with support from UF-IFAS. Webinar Wednesday is probably a misnomer. We're not really doing a webinar. We have kind of shifted towards some of these Wednesday presentations to highlight some county innovations, and we have been interviewing and speaking with counties who were recognized by FACT for best practices in our award program. So for today's presentation or today's conversation, we're pleased to welcome Flagler County. Flagler is an award recipient of our Best Practices in County Government program for 2020. The program is relatively new. It was created by our board of directors a couple of years ago with really two goals in mind. The first is to recognize and what I like to say, celebrate local innovation that might not otherwise be known outside their respective communities. And the second thing is to encourage peer-to-peer exchange by highlighting best practices so other neighboring counties can see the innovations that are being implemented in their neighboring counties. And so that's the second objective. So as a part of Flagler's recognition, we have invited them to talk to us about their program. The proposal that they put together. It's truly, in my opinion, a very innovative training program, and it deals with really developing a pipeline for future first responders. And so joining us today are Holly Albanese and Don Petito. He's the retired fire chief for Flagler County. And so that is the background. And with that, I'm going to turn it over to Holly to introduce us to the program that you all have established, and then I think you're going to turn it over to Chief Petito.
Yes, thank you, Eric. My name is Holly Omnis. I'm the Library Director and Legislative Liaison for Flagler County. I started that position as Legislative Liaison about a year ago, and during that time, I've really had to learn a lot about this part of my position. And as I was doing some research, I happened to notice that the FAC and the Institute for County Government had this program for County's Best Practices Awards. And when I saw that, I started thinking, okay, well, how could Flagler County fit in? Did some research. And honestly, two of Don's programs really came to mind immediately that fit the eligibility criteria and the goals of your program. And I felt that he showed superior innovation and outstanding achievement in what he was able to accomplish in getting this program off the ground. Obviously, it's called the Fire Leadership Academy. I really want Don to talk more about that and how he started it and what the challenges were for Flagler County and the actual solution, all the steps he went through, and how other counties can actually duplicate it. Because that's one of the things that makes this so innovative, is that other counties can step right in and immediately start using the program, because he had to, between him and the Flagler Palm Coast High School, they had to develop curriculum that could be used that would meet the Florida Department of Education requirements. So they did all of those steps in getting it ready. But anyways, so I want to introduce Don. He is now retired fire chief, but he worked for Flagler County for, I think, slightly more than 15 years. And Don actually was an integral part and the driving force behind this program. So Don, please help us out here.
Oh, you're making me blush. Stop. Anyway, good afternoon, everybody. My name is Don Petito, former fire chief or retired fire chief. And this program started out as an idea because of the problem that a lot of smaller counties have, is that they have a fire department that they need people to work at. And when they hire the people, they come from other larger cities such as Orlando or Jacksonville, Miami, Fort Lauderdale, and they get the training, they get the experience, and then they go back to their hometown. So that leaves another opening. So we're constantly hiring and training and equipping firefighters. So how do I fix that problem? I train my own firefighters that live right here in the county. And the best way to do that was to go farming at the high school, we called it, at the time we were coming up with the idea. Because if we could get those kids to come and work for us, their parents are still there, they went to high school there and they live there, they're not going to go anywhere because they have nowhere to go other than home, which is there. So it took me about 2 years to interest the school board and even listening to the presentation, and they finally bid off on it as a classroom to career classroom type of class. And they went and they bid off on it. And when they found out how much work they actually had to do, they think they second guessed it a little bit. But in order to start it out, is we had to prove to the Department of Education that the classes that are coded through the fire college can meet the STEM program. So it's science, technology, English, and math. And we had to go through and show them how we use different formulas, how we write different reports for what we do, the science behind firefighting, and so forth. And once we got that through to the Department of Education, we had to match each one of the class codes for the fire classes that were from the fire college with the Department of Education class codes to meet the requirements for the kids to get high school credit, plus the fire college credit in a program that we call FC DICE, which tracks how much training you have as a firefighter. And that's how they tell, if we hire somebody, we can go through FC DICE and see that they're firefighter 2 or a fire inspector or a fire instructor. So we had to make sure that we were reporting to those two different entities that these kids were actually getting trained. And then in addition to that, we became partners with adult education through the school board to where they would run an EMT class at night. And basically they would do all the paperwork and the collecting the money and handling problems. We would give them the instructors and the equipment to do the training. The kids took the class as an extracurricular class at night. So when they turned 18, these kids would graduate high school, they would graduate the fire college, they would graduate EMT and be a hireable force with any fire department in the state of Florida. And that's it in a nutshell.
You make it sound so small and simple, but I've read your application several times, and it's more dynamic than that.
Oh yeah.
Just with respect to the curriculum. So you just said, I think there's two pieces of this. So there is an actual in-school curriculum, just like, kids go to their high school, right? They have an opportunity to take some of that beginning in 9th grade, correct?
They start in 9th grade and go all the way through 12th grade, right?
And then at some point they can take the night classes at the technical school or vocational school, correct?
Correct. Starting in their 11th grade year, they start going at night to the EMT class, and they graduate from the EMT class while they're a senior.
Okay. And when you started this in 2017, you had a pretty big group. You had 50 applicants.
50 kids, right.
Okay. Were all of them 9th graders, or did you allow 10th graders? Because I read somewhere in the application says you have to begin in the 9th grade in order to really come through our program.
Yeah, the first year we did it, we had 9th and 10th graders, and what that did, it filled the class more. So we ran it with 50 kids. The next year we did it again with 9th and 10th graders. We just had to speed up the class for the 9th graders or slow down the class for the 10th graders. We went from having one class of 50 to two classes of 50, which made it 100 kids.
All right, so let me ask you this question, because first responders are like my heroes, because I've had family that's been impacted by an accident, and man, they were there, and I just want to hug them for life for what they did for a family member of mine. So, and the typical firefighter of today is not maybe the typical firefighter 50 years ago. Like you said, they go through a lot of them go through EMT training, and they are there on the scene in a crash, whether there's a fire or not. So my question is, Chief, how are people attracted to this? What kind of person is interested in doing this type of work? Because it's not without danger. So particularly if you're talking to freshmen and sophomores who are, 15 years old.
Well, a lot of those kids are not college-bound kids, and there's a greater number of those kids than there are people that are going to be going to the college to become the bankers and the doctors and everything like that. So these kids are looking for the classes, like so the vocational classes, whether it be electronics, air conditioning, and once they see firefighting, because our industry, we can make some great videos. because, you don't go anywhere where you can break stuff and get away with it, and stuff's burning and blowing up and jumping out of helicopters and stuff like that. That gets their attention immediately. They're like, I want to do that. Or I can go in the military and do that. And we've had that to where the kids spent 4 years in our class plus 4 years in ROTC, and then went into the military where their MO was either firefighting or some type of medical. So they benefited from our class going into the military also.
So what was your initial outreach and marketing in 2017 to get a class that size? What did you have?
Well, every year the school does recruitment from the middle school. So at the time we had the 2 high schools in Flagler County. So they would recruit where one high school does one thing and the fire academies in Palm Coast, Flagler Palm Coast. So they would have a career day, and we would set up a booth. And like I said, we had 2 TVs running with videos. We had the Jaws of Life out there with cutting up cars and spraying water. And we attracted most of the kids, obviously, because they were like, that's the coolest thing I've ever seen. So we were able to easily recruit kids to come in. And then even the kids that we recruit, 50% of them are not cut out to do what we do. And then the other 50% are definitely cut out for what it is.
So my assumption is a successful program begins with a good idea that you had, passion and energy behind it, but then it couldn't be successful without the buy-in from your board, and 2, a partnership with, I guess, the initial school and then the school board. Can you talk about how that evolved and what challenges that you faced and how did you overcome them?
Yeah, I should have been a hurdle jumper. What I should have been, because you had to convince the county administrator that this is what you wanted to do and get it on the agenda to even talk to the board about it. And then once you talk to the board and they give you the approval to move forward, you have to do the same thing on the school board. The principal at the school has to be in agreement with it. And then you have to bring it to their school board, and it has to be approved. Once that's done, you have to get the approval through the Florida Fire Marshal's office, mainly the Bureau of Education through them. And then you have the Department of Education for the high school, you have to get it through. And then once you get all those people agree, you have to make that particular class that's normally 12 weeks or 3 months, spread it out over 4 years. So there's, I'm giving it in a very quick talk, but that took almost 2 years to do.
So, who was helping you as you were trying to push this thing through? I can't imagine you did it by yourself.
No, definitely not by myself. Like I said, the county administrator would help me out, push me in different directions and say, this is who we got to go talk to. We had the principal and the vice principals at the school at the time, which all of those people are now promoted. Jacob Olivia is up in the state now, and then Dusty's in the state. And I want to say that the vice principals that helped me out are now principals in other schools. But they're the ones that had to do all of the legwork as far as matching the class codes together for the Department of Education so that the kids get high school credit while we did the other end and made sure they got the fire college credit. So it was a big team effort, because I could put any fire instructor into a high school, but they're not going to be able to have the students react the same as an adult classroom. So you had to pick the right instructor to put in there also. So that instructor had to be there the whole time with laying out the curriculum and getting with the kids and making sure everything from setting up the room for a high school compared to an adult education class.
So your application spoke to the costs that you incur for training somebody. I think it was up over $100,000 in the historically in the past. And I would say, notwithstanding, I would say the efficacy of keeping a local pool of talent that you train to work for you, was there a cost associated with training these guys that sort of you could do a cost benefit comparison between your traditional training program versus, funneling kids through this program? What are the costs associated with what y'all put together?
Oh, well, the cost is a lot cheaper because what we were doing, if we hire, say, a firefighter EMT, we require them to be a paramedic. So we have to pay for a paramedic class, which is somewhere around $10,000 now, I believe. or if we hire a paramedical, we would have send them to fire school, which is $6,000. So say you hire 10 people and you have to pay for that. Right now, we have one instructor on duty at all times teaching the class. We're paying him $50,000-$60,000 a year. So the cost benefit's great because all of our adjunct instructors are at the fire station right across the street from the high school. So when you need extra instructors, you call over a fire engine and they're there.
So let me go back to the beginning for at least within the application, the impetus for putting this together. And again, this is what was written in the application, so it might be a little bit different according to you, Chief, but it basically said that, the program was created because there was lack of opportunities, training, and then pay. So have those issues been addressed by creating this program, or are those kind of issues still there that you have to kind of put to the side and have the Board of County Commissioners deal with that at a later time?
Well, I believe that those issues that you're speaking of now are because of the opportunities within the county for students that are graduating high school that are not going to college. And that's
okay.
There's no training opportunities for them. There's
Gotcha.
no paying jobs for them. There was nothing there. Now they have an opportunity to actually get trained to get a job to where they're actually making good money with good benefits, and they have a career path. I actually had one of the kids' father said that my son has a better truck than I have now. And he just graduated high school.
Well, hey man, that's a success, right? That's a good indication. Yeah. Good job. Can we talk about that first class, the 2017, where you had 50 participants, at least at the start, and tell me how many did you have at the end and what happened to some of those that went through the program?
Sure. And I addressed some of that already. We graduated 15 from the Fire Academy and EMT class out of that whole class. And let's say 5 of those people went into the military with their MO being either fire or some type of medical. We hired 3 here. One person went on to get hired in Georgia Fire Department. And I want to say 1 got hired in Daytona. And the rest of them went on to paramedic school.
So, all right. So your original goal was to make sure you had local trained talent to stay within the county. You don't need to leave because we've got this program and you've got a job waiting for you. Are you at a point, do you think you're at a point where you've got more capacity than need? In other words, you got a bunch of graduates, but you only have perhaps the need for 3 or 4 slots.
Well, just currently, or just recently, I should say, our county, Flagler County, received the grants, the SAFER grant, and that's the Staffing for Adequate Fire and Emergency Responders. And that gives them money to hire 15 people for 3 years. So that means the county has to come up with no money to hire those 15 people for 3 years. After the 3 years, they have to pick up the cost of those people. So just Flagler County has a capacity of 15 people. But that's not telling you that Ormond Beach and Daytona and Volusia County and Jacksonville and Orlando and everybody else that got the SAFER grant has openings that these kids can get hired in.
I mean, it's almost like you're providing a regional service to other communities, right?
Correct. Yeah.
And,
and one of the things I should mention about the class is that we went a little step further because we have so much time with these kids that we teach them everything from, when you're talking to somebody, keep your phone in your pocket. Don't look at your phone. Actually have a conversation with somebody. When you're talking to them, look them in the eye, shake their hand. We train them on interviewing processes. We train them on everything from traditions in the fire service. And when we tested the kids and St. John's tested the kids, they came out number 1, 2, and 3 over high school, over adult educated people that came and tested for us from different academies. Awesome. Yeah.
I think I need to send my son over there. He just turned 16.
Send him out.
Looks me in the eye. So kind of as we wrap up, can you talk about a little bit, like I said, it looks like you're providing a regional service for other communities, which I think is awesome. Have other counties or cities looked at the program and tried to mirror it and talk to you guys about how you approached it and made it a success?
Yeah, we've had many different counties come through. Some of the school boards came through to look at it, and some of the actual fire departments. I know Clay County and Jefferson County came down and looked at it. And we made it to where the kids from the school are actually the ambassadors of the class. So they actually give the tour and tell the people about the class and what it's done for them and how it works and everything. So, we involve the students in actually helping us spread the word, if you will.
Since you're retired, I'm going to ask Holly. Holly, has there been an effort to kind of push this out a little bit further? I know we're able to use this as a vehicle to communicate and spread the innovation that you have. Is there any sort of proactive thing that you guys are pushing forward?
As far as other innovative programs or?
No, in terms of hey, Lafayette County, you may want to consider this because you've got sort of an attrition rate on first responders. Do you want to come chat with us? I don't know if you're kind of being proactive and just really bragging about yourself and trying to help fellow counties.
We haven't done anything to this point. Obviously, that's a really great idea. And I do know that Flagler County is getting more active in actually telling our story. That's one of those things that I think most counties are lacking, is the ability to really tell their story in a way that's positive and shows the rest of the state what we're doing and what you could potentially do in your community to help your community. I mean, obviously, what Don has done here has created, a service to this community. It not just helps the fire department, it also helps economic development within Flagler County, because these kids, they basically live, shop, and play here. So by getting a job here, we're keeping them here, and that helps the economy grow. But I think we just don't do a good enough job to tell our story. And I do know that Flagler County is starting a radio program where they're going to start talking about different things that they're doing. And this might be one of those that they're going to highlight. They're also putting out, I think, and I'm not sure when it's coming out, but something about accomplishments. And the Fire Leadership Academy will be listed on that level of accomplishments. So, but yeah, I think that's something that we could do better.
Well, we'll try to help spread the word as well with this interview, and we'll keep this posted on our website for people to come back and visit. I think the last question hold on, I think I had, nope, it was just a thank you. And it's to Chief. I'm going to assume that once you train these guys, and it's, that's an extensive 4-year program, that if it's not in St. Johns County or Flagler County or, somebody nearby, my sense is that they're very employable, are they not?
Yeah, the certification that they receive when they graduate is, like I said, we had a guy that got hired in Georgia just from our certification. So they could go out of state if they wanted to also, but they can get hired anywhere within the state of Florida.
Oh, that's fantastic. I'm looking just to see if we have any final questions before we wrap up. Yeah, as I mentioned, just a comment from our friend Chris Doolin that he had reached out to the small county school superintendents for this. So with that, I don't want to take up any more of your time. I think we covered just about everything. I appreciate both of you coming on. Congratulations. Thanks for really sharing this story and this great project. And Chief, I wish you all the best in your very early retirement. And
thanks, Eric.
I know in your second job, you're providing a really great service to our state. And so I want to thank you for that. And both of you, thanks for coming on today.
Thank you,
All right.
Eric.
Well, thanks for having me.
All right. Bye-bye.